You're listening to the Fort Erie Podcast, your local source for upcoming events, hot new listings, and bite-sized interviews with business and community leaders. Here's your host, Brent Jones.
Good morning, Fort Erie. You're listening to Season 3, Episode 7 of the Fort Erie Podcast. It is Tuesday, November 24th, 2020, and I'm your host, Brent Jones. So, I hope everybody's doing well right now. I hope everybody's staying safe despite some of the new restrictions hitting our region. My guest for today's episode is going to be Julie Brady of Regional Limousine on Jarvis Street. But before our conversation, let's start this episode by taking a look at what's making news here in our town. First and foremost, you know those familiar Salvation Army kettles you see every year around the holidays? Well, they will be around town for this Christmas, but just not quite the same way you've seen them in years past. So for instance, there will be no volunteers with the kettles, no friendly, smiley people ringing bells in the store. All donations will be made without a person there and will be made using tap technology, using your debit card or your credit card. Basically no cash is what I'm saying. There will be kettles for Salvation Army located at 8 different spots throughout Fort Erie, beginning early in December. So keep an eye out for that. Next up, Fort Erie Council members have begun the process of setting the town's 2021 budget, earmarking millions of dollars for a number of different capital improvement projects, such as $2.316 million for Lindbergh water main and sewer replacement, $1.3 million for road resurfacing, $1.05 million for bridge and culvert replacement, and $750,000 for replacement of the roof on the E.J. Freeland Center. So for more information on either of those stories or anything else that we're going to talk about today, please check out the show notes below this episode. Okay, so for my hot new real estate listing of the week, this one comes courtesy of John Richard with Remax Niagara Realty Limited. I'm talking about John's new listing at 487 Scotts. It's just 600 meters or so from Crescent Beach. The property is over 1,800 square feet. It is a bungalow, fully renovated. It features 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms and a whole variety of different features. It's listed for $499, and there's a link with more information in the show notes below. And now let's see what's making waves in the Fort Erie Questions and Answers Facebook group. Christine asks, do any local motels or hotels rent by the week or the month? Now, there were quite a number of answers in the comments, a number of different mentions, including the Knights Inn, the Clarion, the Crystal Beach Motel, all of which apparently offer rates for longer term stays. But the most common answer that I saw was for the Comfort Inn. Apparently, quite a few Fort Erie residents have had positive experiences staying there. Paulo asks, is public skating open this year or no? And I assume that's referring to public skating at the Leisureplex. And the short answer, based on the comments, is no. Due to COVID-19, there will be no public skating this year, but with any luck, it'll be back next year. So, okay, I think that just about covers what's happening in Fort Erie this week. Now on to my interview with Julie Brady. All right, welcome back, everybody. I am sitting down here at Regional Limousine with owner Julie Brady. Welcome to the show, Julie.
Hi, Brent. Thank you.
I appreciate you making time for me. And let me start by asking you the same question that I ask all of my guests, which is, what makes Fort Erie such a great place to live and work?
I just love growing up in the small town atmosphere, and I was born and raised here and lived here my whole life and raising my kids here and decided to start my business here.
Very cool. So you've been here your whole life?
Yep.
Fort Erie. Wow. Yep. Very cool. Well, what made you decide to offer a limousine service?
So we've started in 2010 and we were just looking for a little side job. I had 2 kids and I was working full time and I just decided I wanted to spend more time with them. So we just kind of went in this direction. I thought it would be a little weekend job, and we started off with 1 car, and we were just doing all the driving and cleaning ourselves, my husband and I, and then we've been growing ever since.
Humble origins, eh?
Yeah.
That's very cool. Now, this building we're in, this used to be the old fire hall, right?
Yeah, it was.
How'd you end up choosing this location?
So my husband was a big boy and wanted a fire hall. So we had, at that point, we had 4 vehicles, and we were parking them outdoors, and I was pregnant with my 3rd child, and I was brushing snow off them in the middle of winter, and he said we need to find an indoor space and let's buy a fire station. And I thought he was crazy, but we looked around a bit, and it turned out that this was the only building that was long enough to accommodate limos, and it fit our 4 perfectly. And then we had the outdoor lot, so then we just kept growing from there.
Well, let's talk a bit about the services that you offer. I mean, there's the obvious examples like proms and weddings, but really limousine services, who I guess makes use of them, and what kind of services do you offer?
A lot of our weddings and proms did cancel this year due to COVID complications.
Of course, yeah.
We have been picking up like some medical appointments, a little bit of airport service. That's another thing that's changed. And we did lose all of our sporting events and everything from this year. No Bills games, no Leafs games, no Sabres games, no concerts. So we basically will do anything. We've been doing a lot of small like dinner parties and graduation, like private celebrations and that kind of thing. Just letting people still celebrate without having the large groups. So,
and for maybe somebody who's never used a service like this before, do you generally bill by the hour, or how does that usually work?
We do all our customs, all our prices custom to what the customer is looking for. So normally we start at 2 hours a service would be our minimum. So anywhere from there going forward, it's all private door-to-door service, and we come pick you up. We only bill you for the time that you need. We try and help you set your route in advance just so we could get the most accurate price.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, what I'd like to do now is something I do with all my guests, the rapid fire question round. These are just fun little questions about yourself, so people can get to know Julie Brady just a little bit better. Okay, so I'll rattle them off. Yep. You just blurt out the first answer that pops in your head. Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Would you rather be the funniest person in the room or the smartest person in the room?
Smartest.
Smartest? Okay. If you were independently wealthy and you didn't have to work, what would you do with your time?
Travel.
Travel? Okay. What one word would your friends use to describe you?
Hard worker.
Okay. You went with a positive word. That's good. All right. What would you like to best be known or remembered for?
Being a good mom.
Good mom. Okay. What sport would you compete in if you were in the Olympics?
I played soccer, so I'll have to go with that.
Olympic soccer. Okay. What languages do you know how to speak?
English and a little bit of French.
A little bit of French. Okay. And do you have any collections?
Nope, just my limos.
Your collection of limos. Okay, that's a good answer. All right, that's it. That's the rapid fire question round. Okay. You survived, and people know just a little bit more about you now. Yeah. So to sort of conclude things, tell me a little bit about your involvement with the Bridgeburg BIA. So first, for people who maybe don't know, what is the Bridgeburg BIA? And then, what specifically is your function, and how long have you been involved?
Okay, so I've sat on the board for about 6 years now. I was the chair for 4 years. I just stepped down to a regular member. It was a lot more work than I had anticipated. So basically, it's the business improvement area. When we purchased this building on Jarvis Street, we just felt like it was starting to get run down, and we wanted to breathe a little bit more life into it. So my husband and I kind of stepped up and just trying to work forward to things that we wanted to change. My personal passion for the street was having more events and making people come back the way they used to. You hear a lot about people talk about Jarvis Street, how they used to shop there and when they were kids with their parents or grandparents, and it just seems to be so quiet around here now. So the things that I enjoyed doing were the events, like the Halloween event and the bunny hop at Easter, and then the Taste of Fort Erie and the street dance. So those were my absolute favorites. So we set our goals, and we did get a lot of people down here for that. Obviously, COVID put a damper on all this too. It had to stop all the large gatherings. So
Right.
We're just putting them on hold right now, and hopefully when everything clears up, then we can get back to doing those.
Right. Yeah, I missed the Bridgeburg Street Dance this year, for sure.
We did too.
And this was always the hub for it here at Regional Limousine with the drink tickets. And
we were the beer tent area.
Yeah, it was amazing. That's for sure. Well, and just to clarify, Bridgeburg BIA, that stands for Business Improvement Area, right?
Yes.
So what are some of the specific changes that you've seen in your time with the BIA, and what do you think is next for this end of town? Again, COVID notwithstanding.
Well, our goal is to see all the abandoned buildings that are boarded up, full of life and people open businesses in them again. You obviously don't want to see any businesses sitting empty, and in a downtown district like this, everyone kind of feeds off each other. So when they're sitting empty, it's not really helping their neighbors, and also encourages just people hanging around up to no good. So we'd like to get all the businesses back up and running and full and all tenanted and improved.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I really appreciate some of your insights.
Okay. Thanks for coming.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As most of you are probably aware by now, Niagara region has been placed in the orange restrict level of the Ontario COVID-19 response. And, long and short, that means it means a whole bunch of different things, namely the public and community events and gatherings of any sort are being discouraged. So for the remainder of season 3 of the podcast, I will again not be talking about community events. So instead, we're going to skip right over that. And to conclude today's episode, I invited past guest James Culic to join me. And as many of you know, James is not only a Fort Erie resident, but he's also a writer of comedic opinion pieces for Niagara This Week. In fact, as I understand it, he was the winner of the 2019 Humor Columnist of the Year Award. But today, I don't think what he's got to say is so funny. He's got some strong opinions to share on the state of the bike trail, which follows Fort Erie's waterfront. Probably worth mentioning up front that his thoughts are his own, but I'll leave it to James to share his perspective with you, dear listeners, in a way that only James Culic can. So join me next week for the season 3 finale episode. My guest for the last episode of 2020 will be Anastasia Boak of Down the Rabbit Hole Theater Company in Ridgeway. So long for now, folks. Have a great week, and please stay safe out there.
There are a lot of nice places to go cycling around the region, but the real crown jewel is, of course, the Niagara Circle Route, which is 140 picturesque kilometers of continuously connected bike trails with one single exception, and that's right here in Fort Erie. The only unconnected section of the entire 140-kilometer trail is a 60-meter stretch along the waterfront, kind of between Old Fort Erie and Waverly Beach, and that also happens to be one of the nicest sections of the entire Niagara Circle Route. In fact, if you go to the region's website for the Niagara Circle Route, the picture they use to advertise the trail is of people riding down this very section, the one section that you literally can't ride your bike down. The reason it's unusable is because of that gnarly Halloween storm from 2019, which completely demolished the concrete bike path there, reducing it to just kind of rock and rubble that you can't really walk through, let alone get a bike down. And since it broke last year, the town has done nothing more than throw up a fence on each end and call it a day. This week, after another storm further deteriorated that whole path, the town finally admitted that, yeah, we don't have the money, we're not going to fix this thing, which sucks. And even worse is the fact that the town is still clinging to this delusion that the Municipal Disaster Recovery Assistance Program is going to come through and pay for the repairs. But come on, guys, it's been 14 months since you applied, and you've heard nothing, even though other places like Grimsby have got their money a long time ago. It's getting sad. This is like a dude giving his number to a girl and then sitting by the phone for 14 months waiting for her to call. I mean, come on, get the hint, guys. No one is going to come in here and pay for these repairs. So you need to suck it up, find the money, and fix the trail.
You've been listening to the Fort Erie Podcast with your host, Brent Jones, a sales representative with RE/MAX Niagara Realty Limited Brokerage. Follow @BuyWithBrent on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for updates. Subscribe to the Fort Erie Podcast on popular platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and catch a new bite-sized episode every week. Until next time.